Good morning. I'd like to call to order this, whoops, hang on a minute until Sally gets back. Thank you. A fresh start. I'd like to call to order this County Commissioners meeting for this Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021. And I'd like to notify that there is a quorum present. All 5 commissioners are here. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get into the approval of our agenda at this time, I would like to express sincere condolences to Commissioner Smith and his family due to the loss of his mother less than 2 weeks ago. And our sincere condolences, Commissioner Smith. And we know how these troubling times haunt us and take up of a lot of our time. And it's difficult when we lose loved ones, but I want you to know our sincere condolences are with you as a commission and as a county, and appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Much appreciated. There's many throughout the county and different departments and have reached out, and some have helped out with stepping in on places I was supposed to be and things I was supposed to do. So thank you very much. It was quick and unexpected, but got a couple days to spend with her, and so much appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. With that, commissioners, our first order of business is approval of our agenda. I would like to amend our agenda to include contracts in executive session. So that will give us executive session with 4 items instead of 3. Those being pre-decisional, legal, personnel, and now adding contracts. Does commissioners have any other amendments to the agenda? With that, commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment in executive session of adding contracts.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is the approval of the regular meeting minutes of July 20th, 2021. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would so move. It's Mary.
Thank you. Commissioner Toman has motion to approve July 20th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is the approval of the July 26, 2021 special meeting minutes. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Smith.
I move that we approve the special meeting minutes of July 26th.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve the special meeting minutes of July 26, 2021. Is there a second?
Mr. Commissioner?
Commissioner Toman.
Yes, I would second that.
All right, we got a second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up on our agenda is acceptance of the bills. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lloyd.
hey, I would move that we accept, do the acceptance of the bills, which would include the approval of county vouchers and warrants, approval of bonds, approval of abates and rebates, and approval of the hospital maintenance expenditures.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Lloyd to accept the bills. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have on tab C, we have a public hearing, which is a transfer of a liquor license. To present that is Miss Lane, our county clerk.
Good morning, Chairman
Good
Windling,
morning. Good morning.
commissioners.
Floor is yours.
Today we have the request to transfer a liquor license from L&T Enterprises, Inc., doing business as White Mountain Mining Company, to AHJJ Enterprises LLC, also doing business as White Mountain Mining Company. If you notice, we did our give notice in the newspaper on July 8th and July 15th as required. And today is the day that we can ask for that transfer.
Very good. Thank you. Before I open this up for public hearing, commissioners, any questions for Clerk Lane? No questions at this time. We'll open up the floor for public hearing. So if there's any comment regarding the transfer of this license, now would be the time to come forward to the podium.
I'm just having Mr. Knight check the public
Okay,
comments.
very good. Thank you very much. Again, the floor is open for public comment with regard to transfer of liquor license.
May I ask the obvious while we wait?
Yes.
Was this because of a sale?
I believe so, yes.
Thank you.
They're in the audience.
Last call. Public comment. Mr. Knight, anything? Nothing? We'll close the floor. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding the transfer of the liquor license?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tolman,
I would make the motion to approve the transfer of the ownership of White Mountain Mining Company.
we have a motion to approve the transfer of the liquor license, White Mountain Mining Company. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Up next on our agenda, and we're just right on time, is county resident concerns. At this time, I'll open up the floor for county residents' concern. If there's anybody in the chambers that has a county resident concern, feel free to come to the podium. Please state your name and who you're with, and we'll be glad to listen to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, kind sir.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today. While I live in Clearview and work for the Improvement District, I'm not here on behalf of the district today. I'm going to reserve that for a little bit further down the road. But what I am here for is, as a resident of the Clearview Acres subdivision, requesting that we get on with the maintenance and repair of the roads in that area.
Point order, please. Would you introduce yourself so our
Oh, I'm
people
sorry.
will know who's
You know,
talking with
I'm
us? That's okay. I was
Lee.
waiting for it and I thought, no, I'll interrupt now.
My name is Lee Splett,
Thanks, Lee.
and like I say, I live in the Clearview Acres subdivision, have for 50 years. And we just went through an upheaval. We've got everything back on order again. And we thank the commission for the consideration and everything. But what I'm here for is the condition of the streets and roads in the area that I live in. I came here a couple of years ago requesting that the paved portion of it be maintained. We were having some problems, asphalt beginning to crack up and deteriorate. Requested that we get some sealing done and a couple of potholes filled before the entire system down there on that paved section goes completely awry. So far, that hasn't been done. We do have some pretty serious potholes in that area right now, and there are other areas of the pavement that are beginning to checker. That also is occurring on Sweetwater Drive coming into the Clearview subdivision from the north in the area of the bridge that created some problems here recently. But we need to get those asphalt repaired. If we go another winter, there won't be much left. Then we'll be reduced back to what we were 26 years ago. And with the money and everything that was spent by both the state of Wyoming, the residents of Clearview, and the Sweetwater County, I think it behooves us to maintain these things in a proper manner and not allow them to go to where we have a problem. There would request also some blading and control on the gravelled portions. It's been done in the past, so there is precedent of it. But what we've got now, after this flood that we had, washed a ton of gravel down off of the roads, and they're down onto Plainview Drive. They've hauled a ton of 2 ton probably out of there already, and the road is in pretty bad shape right now. So that's what I'm here for today, is to request the maintenance. I would like to comment on one thing though, and that is whether or not those streets are private or public. One of our residents came to somebody within the county requesting that the streets be maintained, and they were told that they were private streets, and therefore no maintenance would be done on them. And the paved portion was turned over for maintenance and traffic control and what have you 26 years ago. The traffic control situation was actually adjudicated over 40 years ago. Shortly after the subdivision was built, we did have those streets adjudicated as public, and therefore the law enforcement could enforce all traffic rules and regulations on those streets. So I don't know what people blame it on, the pandemic. I don't believe that the pandemic had anything to do with it. I think some people are just idiots. But I'm out there the other day, and there's a young lady sitting there with her children, and she's on the sidewalk because people come off a Sweetwater Drive and gun it around the corner, and then they're doing 40 and 50 miles an hour up Pinion Street. So as a citizen, I'm also requesting that we have a little more patrol. I know that the county is short on hands, short on money, everybody is, but unfortunately, they won't let me lay a 4x4 across the street. I've done it in the past. And Valley View Drive, which I live on and have handicapped children living on, is also another area of concern. They come up off of White Mountain Road or Clearview, whichever one you want to call it, and they hang a right-hand turn, and when they crest the hill while they're stepping on the gas, and it creates a problem for the people that live out there. And this is a residential area. This is not, the Whistler parking lot during Head Turner's Car Club. And so I do would appreciate any concerns that you folks could have that would help us get these streets fixed and maintained, and law enforcement out there.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day and be safe, please.
I will.
Thank
too.
you. Yes, any other public comment? Please come forward. Again, introduce yourself and who you're with, or who you represent, maybe. Better yet, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kim Bramwell, and this is my husband, Keith. And I'm here today as the wife of an injured law enforcement officer. I wanted to visit with you today and tell you what's going on with my husband. And it began on February 9th of this year. He was participating in a mandatory custody and control training, and he was injured. The injury was to his left arm.
You speak more into the microphone.
Excuse me. Yeah, would you?
Right here?
speak-
That's
yes,
better. I couldn't hear very well. I do
Speak
appreciate it.
well into it. You might have to get real close so
Kinda like-
everybody can hear.
Like a
please.
rock star or something.
You know
Okay.
what? Thank you.
All right. So on February 9th, thank you, my husband was injured. He was participating in a mandatory custody and control training, and the injury was to his left arm. The injury resulted in surgery, And on March 5th, he had surgery on the left arm. Naturally, there's a healing process after surgery. And my husband requested from the sheriff, Mr. Grossnickel, if he could work light duty. The policy calls it modified duty. And he was granted that, and he began on April 21st. And he was working. My husband likes to work. He wants to work. He follows policy. He follows procedure. He performs tasks assigned, and he actually reports to work. On July 16th, he required a second surgery on that left arm, again, as a result of that injury on February 9th. And the date was the 16th of July. And on the 28th of July, 12 days later, he was summoned to a meeting with HR and the sheriff, Mr. Grossnickel. I attended the meeting because I'm me. And I learned that an employee is allowed 240 modified duty hours. And after that, the sheriff has full discretion of whether or not an employee gets an opportunity to continue on with light duty. At that time, when I was told that, I immediately asked the sheriff, Mr. Grossnickel, why my husband couldn't have that modified additional hours to allow that healing process. And he informed me that he decides. Then I asked, why would a employee that's working with the sheriff's office not be allowed to continue his position? I was informed that his FMLA time will expire on August 23rd, thus his position will expire. He advised me, the sheriff, Mr. Grossnickel, to talk to you. He advised me the county commissioners are the one that cuts his positions. And so that's one of the reasons I came to talk to you five. My intention, obviously, is to present to the county commissioners, the leaders of our county, what is going on at the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office under this administration. There's three main points that I would like to bring to you. And the first one is my husband was injured during a mandatory training, not a home repair, a mandatory training. And he is going to lose his position as a detention officer on August 23rd of this year. We weren't advised of any options. We were summoned to the HR department and told this is what's going to happen. My second point that I'd like to bring to you is the training that is done at the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office needs to be scrutinized. I can assure you, my husband's not the only officer that's been injured during a mandatory training that's required by the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office. The third point would be the long-term disability plan that the Sweetwater County has is not a gift, as I was told by HR personnel. The long-term disability plan, if my husband was approved, would be 2/3 of his wage until he turns 65. There are no benefits. There's no retirement. There's no insurance. My concern is that there's full discretion by one person that can decide if an injured employee can do light duty. Naturally, there's a surgery process. It was July 16th, and he hasn't been allowed to heal. he hasn't been allowed to see if he will be able to resume full duty. My husband is an employee of Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office, has been for 12 years, longtime resident. And of course, I believe he's an excellent employee. I would ask that the leadership of this commission look into what's happening with the employees that are injured on the job during a mandatory training. Your leadership is needed to ensure that future employees are not treated in such a despicable fashion. Please, please make a difference with your leadership. A 12-year employee should not be told 20 days before you will no longer have a position. And then when it's requested why, be told, I decide, and go to the commissioners. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate that. Floor is still open for public comment. This is a time where the public can speak to the commission if they wish. Floor is open. Anything on the, nothing? We'll just give it another minute and just see if we get anything. Last call, public comment. This portion of our agenda of county residents concerned is closed. And with that, we'll move into our action and presentation items, which starts with tab D, which is a certificate of appointment for newly appointed County Treasurer Joseph M. Barbuto. And to present that is our clerk, Miss Lane. Welcome again, Miss Lane. The floor is yours when you get here.
Chairman Winling, Commissioners, I do have a question. I am presenting this, but it does say the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners does hereby. Is that okay that I still present that?
Sure, just read
Okay.
it out.
Okay. Joe, do you want to come up here? Yeah. Yes. It will need to be signed after, and I'll give you. Okay, the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners does hereby certify that on the 20th day of July, 2021, Joseph M. Barbuto has been appointed to fill the Sweetwater County Treasurer's unexpired term. The certification having been received by the Sweetwater County Clerk, Joseph M. Barbuto is therefore duly appointed to said office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Lane.
Now I'm gonna get
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you.
Just
Go
like
ahead.
that, he's legit, huh?
Huh?
Just like that?
Just like that. I
Just
think
like
we,
that.
That's
I
awesome.
think we have to approve the certification. Is that correct?
I believe you already did that the
I
last
did
time.
last meeting. We
Yes,
just
we just
presented it,
didn't have
so-
a certification.
All right. So
Okay.
congratulations and
certificate, so-
welcome. Now it's official.
Must be legit.
Yeah. And that type of thing. Thank you. All right. With that, moving on. Next up is under tab E, the mill levy approvals. And here to present that is our assessor, Mr. Davis. Good morning, Mr. Davis.
Good morning. Commissioners, what you have in front of you today, same thing we do every year with the mill levies. We actually work with the county clerk's office very, very closely as far as the budgets that are coming in from the special districts to make sure we get the mill levy calculations done for you. What you'll see there on page 1 is actually the breakout of the 12 mill. And Commissioner Wendling and I spoke about this morning. We use Bonnie's mill levies that she calculated in the budget and apply them to the certified value that receive the certification that we received from the State Board of Equalization. So those numbers that you see there will fund those amounts. Now, Commissioner Wendling and I did speak this morning. These are the amounts those entities will receive. This is the tax dollars that will be collected and distributed to these entities. So this is the tax funding that comes from the property taxes. This money will go to those entities involved. Now, further down, you'll see some of the other entities that are on this mill levy sheet, the college, the 2 mandatory school levies, and then you get into the school districts themselves, which we receive the budgets from. The cities and towns, we really just get confirmation from them that they are levying the full 8 mills, which they always do. And then the last page is the one that has all of the values for the special districts, and then the amount that is calculated from the budget, and then the amount that's allowed for the actual levy. And one of the ones that kind of sticks out is the one in Farson, their improvement district up there. By statute, improvement districts have to levy enough to cover bonds and interest. So when they built a community hall up there, they levied an amount to cover the debt service. Because their valuation keeps going down due to the underground coal that's not being mined at Jim Bridger as much as it was in the past, that levy has to continue to rise in order to pay that debt service for that district. So that's why that one sticks out so much. And there is no statutory maximum on that. That one can go as high as it has to cover that debt service. There was a couple of changes in the school districts. School district number 2 did pay off their pool. So that levy that was in Green River for their pool construction did go away this year. And it seemed like 1C, which is the Bear Oil school district, did actually go up a little bit. They had bonds and interest as well, that they had to cover a debt service as well. So that's the skinny version of the mill levy. I just need your signatures, and then I will go ahead and submit the form to the State Board of Equalization for their approval as well.
Thank you, Assessor Davis. Commissioners, any questions? Well, I've got a couple questions. Anybody else down there? I'm looking. Letting you guys have the floor first.
I might, but you go ahead first. And
All right,
see if
well,
you
I
ask
don't
my
want to steal
questions.
anybody's thunder.
No, I have no thunder.
Okay, first of all is, I struggle with putting this out in this fashion. Only because when I just pulled up as to what their requests were significantly lower than what these dollars represent to be sent to them.
Okay.
And what concerns me is by setting this up this way of breaking down the mill levy for those different units, it becomes a document of entitlement.
Correct.
Where they believe that's what they should get, which is these dollars in some cases, in one of them is almost $200,000 more than what they requested, and the other one almost $250,000 more than they have requested through their
Now,
thing.
please keep in mind that this is, Senate File 60 does not actually impact this document that we have as far as the mill levy calculation. The revenue they will actually receive is going to be less than this because those mineral values are going to be paid monthly to the Department of Revenue starting next year and then distributed back monthly
Right.
as well. So the revenue, the numbers here, we're all kind of working through this for the first
No,
time.
I understand that,
Okay.
but historically, what these numbers do is it lists them as an entitlement, and rather than going back to what we approved for their budgets in our budget session, these numbers, even though on paper are higher than what they'll actually receive based on that, still sends a message of entitlement. I just want to point that out, that I will understand why it's done, but I'm a firm believer that when we go back and see what the requests are, that's what they should receive, not what we put in here, because then it's considerably more. And in between just a couple of my quickly grabbed of 200,000 and maybe 250, that's $450,000 that could possibly go to help even core government.
Right, and it may.
And it may. I understand that,
so-
but that's why I don't like this
Okay.
type of breaking down the 12 mil. I think the 12 mil's a 12 mil. Those component units that are listed here and that type of thing that shows what their share is of the 12 mil. Yeah, it can be figured out, but
Right.
I'm just want to know that I think it sends a message of entitlement, and the
Right.
county's going to support what we put in the budget, not,
And I agree with you. And I think the budget is a much more important document. Again, this
Yes.
is for me to be able to calculate the mill levies and submit that report to the State Board of
do you
Equalization.
have to, for the Board of Equalization, do you have to submit it this way?
It's not this way. It's a form. It does the same thing. It has the valuation times the mill levy and shows a dollar amount. But again, your budget amount is probably the more likely document. But these revenues, because of Senate File 60, are not going to come in this fashion. This is, we're still in that transition period with this Senate File 60 thing. So nobody knows what the revenue is going to be.
Right.
But when Bonnie adjusted the budget, she did do that knowing those revenues were going to be less. So starting in January of next year, there will be no second installment that's going to be paid. The first monthly payment from the Department of Revenue is expected to be in May. So she's adjusted the revenue numbers in the budget. So again, my numbers are just simply for this calculation to fill out the form. With Senate File 60, this form may change. I kind of doubt it. The State Board and the Department of Revenue really haven't thought this part of it is any different. Now,
No.
time will tell.
You know, and I think we need to report it the way it needs to be reported. I don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
I'm just concerns me that historically, working with budgets for component units, there's been a thought that once this is put out, they've said, hey, we are entitled to that mill levy of the 12 mil.
Right.
And I want that clearly understood. That's not the case
Okay.
in my book. I'm only one vote.
Right.
In my book.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, with that, commissioners, that's all I had to say. Does anybody else have anything to say? Okay, and we need to take action to approve it. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
All right, commissioners, with regard to the mill levy worksheet presented by the assessor, Mr. Davis, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I'll make a motion to approve the mill levy as presented.
We have a motion by Commissioner Shanefield to approve the mill levy as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you very much. And Sally, will you get me the signed copy when they get it done?
Okay,
Yeah, I think, yeah. It actually was last night, but yeah, we're good. Thank you. All right, I'll get back to work.
Quit goofing around.
vote
right?
on it. I shouldn't have. Okay, very good. All right, next up on our agenda, moving on, is tab F, which is approval of the fiscal year 2021 interlocal agreement for the Justice Assistance Grant Program. With us for this item is our grants manager, Ms. Marshall, or Marshall. I always say it wrong. I'm sorry, Christina. All these years and I still get tongue twisted. And I believe also is Miss Salazar on for you? Yes, she is. We have her on. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina, floor
Okay.
is yours.
Hey, good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. This item is approval of the fiscal year 2021 interlocal agreement for the Justice Assistance Grant Program. So the city of Rock Springs has the opportunity to apply for funding to prevent or reduce, to use to prevent or reduce crime and violence. JAG awards are based on a formula by Congress, and they use national violent crime data and population that is first split at the state level and then the local level. So Sweetwater County is not eligible for funding, and I think that's bittersweet because we like money, but we don't have the crime data. But unfortunately, Rock Springs does. Now, it's on the agenda because as a community partner, JAG requires the county to approve this. So the Rock Springs Police Department is proposing to use their JAG grant funding to hire a consultant to review and update their policies according to case law. So they're eligible to apply for $15,427.00. I want to emphasize the county has no match or cost share in this. I thought you'd be interested in seeing the state statistics for population and crime data. So in your packet, you'll see the other entities that received funding. Laramie County did have a direct allocation, Natrona County did, and Campbell County did not, or did also. With that, I have a few notes. The sheriff's office has no issues with this project. I spoke to Sheriff Grossnickel about it. And if approved, the funding would be awarded directly to the city of Rock Springs and would not be passed through Sweetwater County government or included in our county's audit. A final note on my requested motion, I'd like to note that the year should be for fiscal year 2021 and not 2020. And with that, I would like to ask the sergeant if she would like to add any comments about the project.
Sergeant Salazar, any other comments or we wish to add regarding this?
Yes, so just to clarify a little bit, we are working in conjunction with Daigle Law Firm. It's actually a prestigious, highly recommended law agency that's on the East Coast that specializes in law enforcement case law and also assisting us with redoing our policy manual. Because as we know in this day and age with current law enforcement hurdles and new things coming out really on a daily basis in regards to case law, it's very important that our policy manual is updated, is current, and is following those national guidelines. And looking through our previous policy, or I guess our current policy that we go by now, there are several policies within that that haven't been revised since 2011, 2016. So I think, like I said, given the current environment with law enforcement, it's definitely a great way for us to update our policy manual so we know we're in compliance, and also it will help us achieve accreditation if that's the route we choose to go through later on. Also with this money, we will be talking with Power DMS, who is an online training who has partnered with Daigle Law Firm, and through their corporation, they can push through these new policies online in order to update everything, keep everybody on the same page. So if any corrections are made, it's instantly known throughout the entire department what things have been modified, and then an electronic signature is gathered to hold those individuals accountable that they have read the policy, they've been tested on the policy, and they know exactly what they're expected and what's expected of them.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else to add?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else.
Thank you. Very well done. Commissioners, any questions for either our grants manager or for the Officer Salazar? With no questions, commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this assistance grants program? And keep in mind, it's for fiscal year 2021. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lloyd.
I'd like to move to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the fiscal year 2021 interlocal government for the Justice Assistance Program.
We have a motion to approve and authorize chairman to sign. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Amanda, and be safe out there. And we appreciate what you do.
Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you. With that, up next is tab G, is an award of the fiscal year 21 Detention Center roof project. And here to present that is Mr. Legursky, our Director of Public Works. Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Good. So what you have before you today is the bid for the detention center roof that we discussed during our capital. This is a budgeted item. Bighorn Roofing was a low bidder. We had two bidders on the project, all weather waterproofing out of Utah and Bighorn Roofing out of Laramie. and Bighorn Roofing was the low bidder. So I would ask, my recommendation to you would be to award the bid to Bighorn Roofing in the amount that they did.
Very good. Looks like the engineer's estimate is pretty close.
It was close. Got lucky.
I know it.
Had no clue.
Doesn't happen
One-
that often.
No, one interesting thing, just so you guys know, I mean, everybody's seen prices and everything like that. Roofing material, if he orders it now, will be in about 12 to 14 weeks.
Good. Will they still get it done before the winter?
It'll probably be done during the winter.
During the winter.
But he's actually better with that. He said he'd rather deal with it during the winter than the spring, because you can blow snow off. You can't blow water off if it rains.
Makes sense.
So,
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Legursky?
Good thing it hasn't rained lately.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Commissioner Lloyd.
Hey, Gene, I did something the other day I typically don't, and that was read some of the social media comments. And one of the questions that was put out there was, how would a new building that's only 15 years old, 15 to 18 years, right?
17.
Okay, already needed for a new roof. And I know you and I have talked about that. I just think since I've seen that question bannered out there, it'd be good to ask that today.
The roof that was designed on that's a 20-year roof. So it's almost at its useful life. We've seen some degradation because of the wind out there. We are going back with a 90-mile-per-hour wind graded roof on that. It's a heavier mill lining. And if you actually look at it, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but when the wind's blowing a little bit, it looks like you're walking on a waterbed up on top of it. So it is coming apart and doing different things and stuff like that. And with the rains that we've had, we're lucky we didn't have any leaks that we know of that have surfaced yet, but it's on its last legs.
Thanks, Gene.
Other questions, commissioners?
Commissioner Lloyd stole mine. Thank you.
Go ahead. Anything else?
No.
What's the warranty on this roof?
20 years.
20 years. Okay. Very good. Okay. No further questions. Commissioners, your pleasure.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lloyd.
I'd like to move that we award the bid for the fiscal year 21 SWCO Detention Center Roof Project to Bighorn Roofing Incorporated in the sum of $388,105 and authorize the chairman to sign all necessary project documents.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lloyd to approve and authorize chairman to sign all documents. Is there a second?
I'd second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Gene. Appreciate it. And Gene, please let everybody know we appreciate the work they did over the weekend with everything that took place and your guys getting out there and assisting the cities and doing whatever it took to help mitigate problems.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, with that, up next, we have a request approval of the Pareto Cancer Care Plan Access Agreement. And here to present that to us today is, I believe, Mr. McLean. So good morning, Mr. McLean, our HR
Morning.
Director. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners, and before you is just an agreement that extends some additional benefits through our stop loss provider. Back when we were looking at some changes to the health insurance program, one of the areas of challenge was with respect to the renewal for stop loss insurance. Just for a refresher, the county pays dollar for dollar for all the health insurance expenses, up to $200,000. After that, the stop loss provider picks up those expenses. So if you have $1 million claim, our plan pays $200,000, and then the stop loss provider will reimburse the remainder, that $800,000. As you know, over the past several years, what's driven the cost of the health insurance plan has been large claims. And so this year we moved to, for a variety of reasons, to Pareto. It's called a captive. It's a way of obtaining stop loss insurance that manages the growth and cost as well as increasing the service. Recently, they came out with a new program called Cancer Care Plus, which is offered as part of our participation in the captive program. And it basically facilitates for employees getting access to cancer centers of excellence, to the appropriate types of centers for the type of cancer and treatment they have, helps them manage the process. And overall, it's a really good program, especially when people learn that they have those kind of difficult challenges. And so there's actually two places to sign. One is just basically the agreement has the terms and conditions in it. And then the second, I think, which is page 7, is just the business associate agreement. So anytime that you have agreements with third-party providers, you have a business associate agreement, which assures that the confidentiality of the information is not shared just as though it were internal. So I'm requesting the board to consider approval of this agreement and authorize the chairman to sign.
Thank you, Mr. Clean. Commissioners, questions?
I say free is good. I mean, sometimes you get what you pay for, but free is good.
Free is
you know?
good.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we're paying for it somewhere in the
Right,
cost of
yeah,
stop
yeah,
loss,
yeah.
but
No,
it's not an additional cost to the current program. It's an
not
addition
this
that
year anyway.
they're providing. Yeah.
So, questions, commissioners? No questions. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding approval of the Cancer Care Plus Plan Access Agreement, as well as authorizing the chairman to sign the two necessary documents?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Smith,
I move that we approve that.
and we have a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve and authorize chairman to sign the two necessary documents. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McLean.
Thank
Good
you.
program. Appreciate it. Okay, with that, moving forward, we have board appointments. And of course, our first up will be the appointments to the Fiber Optics Telecommunication Cooperative Joint Powers Board. And looking at that, I asked our Assistant County Attorney to review the agreement and look at several things, and it's his recommendation. And Mr. De Leon, you're present, so I'll try to do the best I can. And if you have to correct me, is one that we have 3 appointments for the county to make today, and that type of thing. One appointment will be for a 3-year appointment. One will be for a 2-year appointment, and one will be for a 1-year appointment, because the agreement or the bylaws talk about staggered terms, which means that, and also that the appointments commence July 1st of 2021. So that would mean the 1-year appointment would come up due in July of 2022 with our regular appointments. And of course, the second appointment would, or the 2-year appointment would come up in 2023, and the 3-year appointment would come up in 2024. So with that, I do know that one of those appointments has to be a commissioner on that board, and presently working as liaison with that board as and working on there is Commissioner Shanefield. And as chairman, I would recommend that Commissioner Shanefield be the board's representation, the commissioner's board's representation on that board. And then we do have, I believe, in our packets, we do have 2 applicants for the other 2 appointments, or 3. Yes. Thank you, Sally. So with that, I think first of all, we need to decide if we're in agreement that Commissioner Shanefield should serve as the commissioner's representative, and then also decide which one of those appointments, whether it's the 3-year, 2-year, or 1-year, that she should serve at. So,
Well,
yeah, so open up for discussion at this point in time, commissioners.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner.
Don't they usually just draw for terms once you appoint them, draw who's going to get 1, 2, and 3? No?
can do that, or we can appoint him as we go.
Okay.
Yeah, either way.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield?
so I could argue both ways on this, but I think it makes sense because our other liaisonships change annually, that maybe if everyone is in agreement that I would be appointed that I do the 1-year appointment. The other two of the 3 folks that are on their list are already involved in that as well. And I think that giving them the opportunity to stay on for a little bit longer and then readdressing, I mean, if I don't continue on the State Broadband Task Force or the State Broadband Council, it may be smart to have somebody else involved in the future from the commission.
Okay, so very good points, but let me just counterpoint the one thing that you mentioned on a board appointment. That is not a liaison. That is a board appointment. That does not get changed year to year. Once that appointment's been made, that individual serves out for the term of the board, or that individual serves until they resign or gets voted off the commission if it's a commissioner appointment. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So
I agree.
I fully agree if it were a liaison, yes, but this is not a liaison, so. Anyhow, so
And I'm good with any of them. It really doesn't matter. That was my thought.
yeah, and I agree, so let's hear what other commissioners have to say. Thoughts, commissioners? And you could go in any order. You can take a look at who the applicants are, and you could make a motion to appoint any one of them for any of it, so.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to appoint Tim Knight, and I want to hear a speech from him, what they're doing.
I think, I think Commissioner Toman, what you said there is, I agree with, but I'll put it in this terms. I want to hear an update of where the telecom board is at. And we would look for those board members to do that here in the near future, okay? Or did you want him to campaign for his position? I should back up for a minute.
Well, how long have you been involved, Mr. Knight? How long have you been involved with this?
Sure, come on up. If the commissioner has a question, Mr. Knight, please come on up.
All right, I don't know if I want this or not, but so we've used the Joint Powers Telecom Board as for services since I've been here. And so just so that I know what's going on, I've just attended those meetings ever since I started 10 years ago. So I'm just involved in that sense and just keeping on tabs on what's going on. But this will allow us a more active role in that.
Very good.
Would you be interested in the 3-year if I change my motion to appoint you for 3-year?
I'm sure I'll end up renewing regardless. So
Okay.
as long as I'm here, I'll probably be willing to do that. So.
Thank you, Tim. Go ahead, Commissioner Smith. Did you have a question?
Quite the campaign speech. I don't know.
I know.
It was like lukewarm there.
I hear you.
Yeah, whatever. I'll do it, I guess.
Okay, other comments, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Shanefield.
I think the other person who's currently already on the board is David Halter. And I would like to see him be one of our appointments as well.
All right, so I'm hearing Tim Knight and David Halter of the 3 applicants. Of course, the 3rd applicant is David Duncan. So with that, other commissioners' thoughts?
Do you want, Mr. Chairman,
Pardon?
do you want to treat them as separate motions or are you
Yes.
just taking nominations?
Let's separate motions to appoint.
Okay, point of order, then I made a motion to appoint Mr. Knight for a 3-year term.
Yes, you did. So with that, we have a motion to appoint Mr. Knight to the 3-year term. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Commissioner Lloyd, I believe.
yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, so the 3-year term will go to Mr. Knight. Okay, commissioners, what about the 2 or 1 year?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I'll make a motion to appoint David Halter to the 2-year term.
We have a motion to appoint David Halter to the 2-year term. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So David Halter will be the 2-year term. With that, that leaves the 1-year term, and I think that has to be a commissioner. And I would entertain a motion to appoint Commissioner Shanefield.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lloyd.
I'd so move.
Have a motion by Commissioner Lloyd to appoint Commissioner Shanefield to the 1-year term. Is there a second?
I'd second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Before we move on, I'm going to look to our Assistant County Attorney, Mr. De Leon, and did we miss anything? We're good to go. Thank you very much. I listened carefully yesterday, didn't I? All right, with that, moving on. Up next for board appointment is the Solid Waste District 2 Board in Wamsutter and Bear Oil. I believe as I looked at that one, I believe there was one applicant for a 3-year term, and the vacancy due to the resignation of Gus Autonomous, and this will fill the unexpired term through 7/1 of 23. So we have one applicant, is Harold Good. Commissioners, your pleasure.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
make a motion to appoint Harold Good to the Solid Waste Disposal District Number 2.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Shanefield to appoint Harold Good to fulfill the unexpired term through 7/1 of 23 to Solid Waste District 2 Board. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second.
Commissioner Toman seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is the Library Board appointment. And with that, we have due to a resignation of Debbie Leach, effective August 31st, 21. This appointment will fill an unexpired term through December 1st of 23. And wasn't re-advertised. We do have 3 applicants on file: Autumn Williams, Lenore Perry, and Megan Jensen. Commissioners, any discussion? How about, yes, Commissioner Smith?
Did we ask these folks if they're still interested?
I did not. Their application's on file for 2 years, I believe. So those are the most recent. Okay, very good.
Just a
Thank you.
couple months old.
In order, most recent in order.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Toman.
I would nominate Lenore Perry. I know she's contacted me in the past. She is very interested in this position.
Very good. We have a motion by Commissioner Toman to appoint Lenore Perry to the unexpired term for the Library Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? Commissioner
Yeah,
Smith?
Mr. Chairman, can I have a moment?
Pardon?
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you may, Commissioner
I'm the
Lloyd.
liaison of the board, and we usually go to the liaisons to see what the board would like before we make nominations.
Point of order.
I think that Lenore Perry is a great nomination. I think Autumn Williams would be a great nomination, but the board has recommended they would like to see Megan Jensen come on, and I'd like to represent that as a decision of the board, even though I do think that Lenore would be fantastic. Talking to Director Grubb, their recommendation was Megan Jensen, and I think we need to hear that before we move forward.
You're right. Thank you very much for that correction. So with that, I would resort back to the original motion. Would you consider rescinding your motion, Commissioner Toman?
No, I wouldn't. I'd like a vote on it.
Very good. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So we will go to a vote for,
Sorry.
all right.
Got to talk
So we
fast.
have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
No.
No. Motion fails. With that, I'll entertain a new motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lloyd,
I'd like to recommend and appoint Megan Jensen to the library board.
We have a motion to appoint Megan Jensen to the library board. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
No.
Motion carries 3-2. My apologies to those members that I didn't go to the liaison first. That's a error on the chairman, and he'll try not to let that happen again. So with that, we move into commissioners' comments and reports. And first up, Commissioner Shanefield.
Mr. Chairman, can we take a quick break before that?
Oh, you got it. Let's take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good call. We will come back here at 20 minutes to,
Decision.
no, let's make it 9:45. 9:45. We'll break. There. We'll call this meeting back to order and get back to our agenda. At this time, it's commissioner comment and reports. And first up, Commissioner Shanefield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first, I would like to offer my condolences as well to Commissioner Smith for his loss. We're thinking of you. And I'd also like to offer condolences to Senator Enzi's family. This was a pretty tragic loss for them. And I had the opportunity to work with him a few times on some domestic violence and sexual assault legislation, and he was a pleasure to work with and will be missed. The events complex, first and most exciting. Fair kicked off this last Saturday, and I've heard great things about the 4-H events. Everyone is super excited to get back in the groove and see their kids show in person. Not just 4-H, 4-H and FFA events, sorry. The big show with all the bells and whistles and all the concerts is going to be kicking off tonight. And also a reminder that they are going to be having the live auction again on Saturday, August 7th. I know, super exciting. Barbecue starts at noon and the auction starts at 2 p.m. So I hope everyone will come out and support our kids. They work really hard all year round, and pretty exciting to have everything back in person and be able to have, big show like it always is. The full schedule, the ticket pricing and everything is available on their website, sweetwaterevents.com. And if you buy your tickets online, you can save some money on that and make it easier when you're getting through the gate. SEDC, Eric and Kayla have been working with John DeLeon on drafting the necessary work for the 501c3 application. So that's exciting moving forward. Kayla is working on finalizing the strategic plan that we recently had a workshop for in June. This includes the goals for the organization for the upcoming year. And Kayla and Eric have both been busy attending professional development training for economic development. And we've also seen an increase in requests for information for cryptocurrency and data mining projects. So Kayla recently had a meeting with the Wyoming Business Council Business Recruitment Manager, Wendy Lopez, regarding the incentives and programs that are available for these types of projects. The current challenge that they're facing with these projects is power capabilities. And so this is something that the Wyoming Business Council is going to be working with the utility providers to address and see what we can get figured out. The museum, they have experienced steady visitation, both from tourists and local residents, and their virtual outreach efforts have continued to be well received, as well as the internet audience is continuing to grow. Staff and volunteers participated in international days, and I had the opportunity to see them. They had a great booth right at the entrance. And they had a few other public events during July. Dick Blust taught compass and map skills, and Aiden Brady led a gold panning activity outside the museum. The basket weaving class is one of the most popular activities, and it was very well attended again this year.
Super popular class in college too.
Yeah, underwater though.
Underwater.
The advanced one.
Yeah, well, of course. So as schools are about to open, they are beginning to wind down on their summer classes and getting ready for the classroom and virtual education programming. They also hope that schools are going to be able to come on field trips to the museum and do tours again this year, since they weren't able to do that last year. And then the museum staff is also preparing to open a Smithsonian traveling exhibit titled Crossroads, Change in Rural America. And that exhibit is going to be co-hosted by the museum and the Green River Chamber of Commerce, and it will be on display at the museum or at the Green River Visitor Center, September 11th through October 24th. So I'm excited. I'm going to go out and check that one out. And they also want to include all of the different communities throughout Sweetwater County in their programming, and so they're looking at other ways of doing that. They're also working on the IT connectivity project, and then their collection, storage, and the other ongoing projects that they always have at the museum. I had the opportunity to meet with the city of Rock Springs, SEDC, and then a whole lot of our industry partners to look at the potential multi-use facility. This has been an ongoing conversation for years. The facility would be primarily utilized for our youth for practice facilities, as well as additional space for indoor events, tournaments, and et cetera. It's really given the opportunity to our youth to compete with many of our other communities across the state that have facilities like this and have the opportunity to practice year round, where our kids don't have the space to do that. And so this is something that it's really beginning stages. We're currently looking at the option of using an already built building and what that may look like, what grant options there are, because there are a few, and then, what maybe some other funding options are, some sponsorships and things like that, and just really an overview. So it's an exciting thought. It's something that has been thrown into the sixth penny realm as well. And so building a new building versus converting a building that's empty currently on the market is going to save money in the long run, and be good utilization of that. So I also wanted to thank our fire departments, Rock Springs Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, Emergency Management, just in how everything was addressed with the flooding in Rock Springs. There were some pretty devastating effects for a lot of people with their houses being flooded, businesses being flooded, damage that is unbelievable. And we had a lot of people that really stepped up. They quick action saved homes, potentially saved some lives. And then, I forgot to include Gene Legursky and his group as well. We had a meeting, laid out a plan, figured out what our needs were, and everybody kind of took a part of that and ran with it. We got some sandbagging areas set up in Rock Springs, as well as had sandbags filled and ready to be utilized by our first responders. They were utilized, a lot of them, the next day when we had some additional flooding, and that saved some downtown businesses and some other people that had already experienced some flooding. So everybody worked together and good teamwork. I appreciate all of that. And I think that is everything.
Thank you, Commissioner Shanefield. Questions for Commissioner Shanefield? Okay, up, Commissioner Toman. Good morning.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Sally. She's got that budget right down, this commission meeting timing right down to the minute until we mess it up, but of course.
Impressive.
So thank you, Sally. We appreciate you very much. Yes, condolences to Commissioner Smith. I hadn't heard about it, so yes, we're with you. And to Senator Enzi, I worked with his wife on the Vocational Advisory Council for 8 years, and they are wonderful people, and we extend our condolences to that family also. Okay, since the last meeting, I attended a coalition of local governments meeting in Lyman. We are earning our dues with just one meeting that we had in Vernal last week. So Eric's going to help me give an update on that one. Commissioner, when you had given me a Western States and Tribal Nations Natural Gas Initiative, they weren't really asking for dues, but last year the coalition did contribute $5,000 to them to a study produced in the Rockies basins and talking about exported from the North American West Coast natural gas from the North American West Coast to China, India, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. And this would produce a net life cycle emission reduction of between 42 to 55% if used to replace coal-fired energy generation in those 5 nations. So this study is now definitive scientific evidence that exporting Rocky Mountain natural gas can significantly reduce global greenhouse emissions. And that Western States and Tribal Nations Natural Gas Initiative does conduct studies promoting natural gas in the Rocky Mountain area. So CLG did not give them a donation at this time, but if we have more funding later, we might give them a donation later.
Thank you for that. And the reason is Andrew Browning contacted myself because he wasn't quite sure if CLG was going to contribute again, because it's a yearly donation to be a membership and that type of thing. And if they weren't, then he would like to present to this board where they're at, and this board consider picking up that donation and that type of thing And it's yearly. I do know that a year ago when, prior to you getting on the commission
Mhm.
was in favor of that donation, but then Commissioner Johnson said, hey,
Right,
let me take it to CLG.
yes.
And so my question would be, since it sounds like CLG at this time isn't going to,
They don't have
Contribute.
the funds right now
Don't
to
have the
do it.
funds.
No.
so my question then would be to us as commissioners is, would you like to have me set up Andrew Browning to do a Zoom with us, bring us up to speed, and then determine if we, as Sweetwater County, would like to be part of that organization as Converse County is, as well as the state of Wyoming. And I don't know what other Wyoming counties, but I do know those, the state and
I
Converse.
think it would be a great idea because
Okay.
they really do some valuable types of research that might be of
Well,
interest to our county.
And the one thing that stuck out in my mind last year is it was also a push to get what they called the last mile of that pipeline in, so there could begin to export
Mhm.
natural gas from the different basins in this area as well as west of us, which in turn would impact natural gas company sales to a positive percentage of higher price, which again impacts our assessed valuation, which again impacts our funding. So if it's okay at the board, I'll contact Andrew Browning and set up for him to present a Zoom to us with the idea that at that point in time, if we wish to pick up that contribution for the county, we can decide as a commission. Is that all right?
I think it would be good.
Yeah, okay. I'll take care of that and I'll get him on for one of the future meetings. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Tolman. I really appreciate that. And that'll help out him as
Well,
well.
I know you asked me to follow up and I just wanted to let you know that we didn't have the money to send it to them this year, but we did keep it on our agenda. If things work out with the Federal Natural Resource Policy account through the governor's office, we may
Yeah.
have funding then.
All right.
At that meeting, we also reviewed the oil and gas moratorium status. Technically, the drilling and the oil and gas sale should begin. It was illegal for them to have been held up in March and again in June, but nothing is happening. The Biden administration keeps saying, as Kimberly told us at the last BLM federal meeting, that they have been given no direction to resume the oil and gas lease sales. And it's illegal. There's been a lawsuit in Louisiana that said it's illegal. Still nothing is happening. They claim that the BLM is waiting for a study that they have asked for. So we reviewed the Ashley National Forest Plan and our strategy for the CLG to meet with them in Vernal, and I'm going to have Eric help me report on that meeting, but it was great for Eric to be able to attend that meeting with me. I think it gave him an opportunity to see what cooperators' involvement is. Oh, they also, if any of you want more information about the county governments and the Forest Service, Richard Stem, our coalition consultant, did a very good job of organizing our meeting, but he also provided a copy. This was put out by NACO and the Forest Service. It is how to work as a cooperator with the Forest Service. And it should be on the NACO website, but we can probably get copies of it. He gave me this copy. If anyone wants to borrow it, they can. That cooperator meeting that we attended in Vernal with the Ashley National Forest and fairly new supervisor, Susan Eichhoff, she attended our federal meeting in April. She was a ranger in Cody for 7 years and really did some great projects. And I have to say, of all the cooperator meetings I have attended in 20 years, this was probably the most positive that I have ever attended. Everyone left there feeling positive that, there were some good points made. We're kind of behind the 8 ball on the Ashley because they are ready to go public with us. So they can't make huge changes. And Richard Stem suggested maybe that we get an outside, a retired forester, someone besides him to help provide some final input during that public process. They have done a very good job of inventorying their resources. They're just lacking in a 5-year action plan and a 10-year strategy. And so we were trying to provide them input on specifics as far as maybe some areas that they could strengthen the plan. So Eric, I'm going to turn it to you for just a few minutes and then I'll finish my report.
Morning, Eric.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Toman.
His ears are probably still burning because I yapped on. I talked nonstop down and back.
Hey, we got to run into some, they were driving cattle down in 191. That was interesting.
Only in Wyoming.
Only in Wyoming, but you
That
have
was
to
in
keep,
Utah.
you
Was
have
that
to
in
keep,
Utah?
it was in Utah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was in
Yeah.
Utah. You can't just sit there with your car though. You have to, they'll just stand and stare at you. So you have to keep driving or they just look at you like, okay. Thank you. So the one, I have not been a part of the Ashley plan. It's like an 800-page document. Mark Cott had been working on it for many years. Commissioner Toman with the CLG. You've been involved with it, Commissioner Wendling, and Commissioner Johnson was heavily involved with it. This is the important thing moving forward is they are removing the national recreation, which is the Flaming Gorge, out of the Ashley plan. And so that's going to give us a great opportunity to comment when, you know, Commissioner Shanefield, when we talk SCDC, we talk about bringing recreation in here. I took Commissioner Toman through some of the campgrounds through Buckboard.
Yeah, it was a mutual learning experience.
Yes, they need some TLC. They're very understaffed. I guess a fully staffed gorge area for the Forest Service is 60 people. They have 12. So you can see why definitely the facilities are in the condition they're in. So I think it's very important moving forward that we are heavily involved, that we sign an MOU. I think we do have to do an MOU. Is that right,
Right.
Commissioner Toman?
Yes.
We'll have to do another MOU with the Forest Service, just so you're aware, so that we are a cooperator in that process. So it was like drinking water through a fire hose going to this meeting because this is my first Forest Service meeting in the 17 years I've been here. So it was a lot of information, but moving forward, I appreciate the commissioners paying for my travel. So I appreciate that. Since I don't have a travel budget, so I appreciate that. But I don't. Just it was a very positive meeting, so I appreciate Commissioner Toman. You have me tag along and the whole experience. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Eric.
Well, just to tie into that, they said some of these forests have formed a collaborative. They've done it in Sublette County with the Bridger Teton National Forest. They form a collaborative, and I don't know if this is the time to bring it up, but Eric and I are going to try to attend the Sweetwater County Outdoor Collaborative. And Sue Eichhoff, the supervisor, usually attends those meetings. And she is very excited about looking forward to forming an outside group, but maybe that group could be a subgroup to be a collaborative for the Flaming Gorge National Recreation Area, where you take all the partners, the cities, the outdoor recreation people, and you form this collaborative to help identify and work on projects and find funding.
Well, and just to share with you that outdoor collaborative, that's what it's about. It's to find and use grant money as well. And once you have all of these groups
Right.
you just talked about
Mhm.
making a request or doing a grant, it carries a lot more weight. A lot of the conversation is to find projects, and this is wrong terminology, but projects that are low-hanging fruit. In other words, hey, these can be done quickly, easily, and they'll make a difference. And in those conversations, believe it or not, it is stuff around the Ashley. I mean, around the Flaming Gorge in the Ashley.
Yeah.
And as we know, there's also with their new director, I can't think of his name from the Ashley.
Ranger, you
Range-
mean Ranger Kurt Booher
Yes,
from Manila? Yeah,
yes,
he is
he-
interested in
He's
stress.
very
in the meeting
interested
also.
in
Yes.
upgrading and spending some time and getting some things done in Wyoming. So what you're saying, Commissioner Toman, and what Eric has brought together is going to be a perfect fit for the outdoor collaborative, the Sweetwater County Outdoor
But rather than
Collaborative.
forming a new one, if they
Well,
would just become
There you go.
and deal
There's-
with that.
There you go.
issue.
They will. I truly believe, because Eric's on the steering committee and I believe I'm on the steering committee, and as well as we have other people that you've talked about that are
Yeah.
part of the stakeholders group, and the projects are starting to show themselves as to what needs to be done. So we'll start moving forward. Hopefully, I think our meeting's this week. Unfortunately, it conflicts with the Atlantic Pacific update. So I'll just say this now is I'll ask Eric I'll cover the
Well, they're
outdoor
both in
rec.
Green River. They're both in town.
Yeah, they're both in town. One is at Game and Fish and
Right.
one is at the,
So I think we're going to try to catch
so,
the front end of one and the back end or the
yeah, whatever.
try to catch both meetings
So,
or something.
but I mean, they're gonna fit together well. We just got to figure how.
And your low hanging fruit, what was exciting about the Ashley, that Supervisor Eichhoff says, no, we need to plan to move beyond the low hanging fruit.
Oh,
We need to get
exactly.
some long-term plans in place that are going to allow us to do some big watershed scale level projects. I know at first you do the projects that are obvious and easy and need to be done, but then you need to plan down the road so you really get your vision and your everything aligned so that you have long-term effects. So I thought that was good. Did you catch Supervisor Eichhoff said, no, we have to reach beyond that low-hanging fruit now. It's time to reach. So if we go into that Flaming Gorge management plan, that recreation area management plan with the attitude that we really want some long-term things that everyone wants, and we work together to get those done. I think we have with that outdoor collaborative, we have a jump start for leading into that plan. The Ashley National Forest has hired a contractor to work with their planners and the cooperators to start developing that plan. They met this week, and so you probably saw an email. They asked me who our contacts would be. I mentioned the three of us, and I sent it to their planner.
Yeah, and keep in mind, if you take a look at the previous outdoor recreation collaboratives in other counties, they have done some long-term stuff. They're in the process of it,
Right. Mhm.
gathering. So, I mean, it's all a perfect fit. It's just a matter of coordinating it and bringing it together and that type of thing. So what you're hitting on is great stuff. And we just need to, that collaborative is the group to make it happen.
Well, and Richard Stem just sent out Congress is trying to, through Biden, they're trying to do an 8 million, I think it was 8 million for healthy forest initiative. So if you have a collaborative, it gives you a way to funnel that money faster into projects, because you can contract to get some of the work done when the Forest Service doesn't have staff to get a lot of it done. So as sad as it is to see all the federal money being thrown all over, we need to have our hand out and use it productively. So that collaborative would tie in with that healthy forest initiative, which we desperately need because our forests are burning and the watersheds are suffering, and everything is suffering because of kind of poor management of the forest over the years. The Sublette Migration Corridor Task Force is moving fast. We only had 2 people from Sweetwater County. It's a 5-county effort. Only 2 people had submitted a name from Sweetwater County, which was not good that we only had 2. But I actively called and tried to recruit some people, but people are busy and schedules are crazy. So that's all I can say on that one. So I guess go forth and keep on doing something positive.
All right. Anything else, Commissioner?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you. Good report. Up next, Commissioner Lloyd. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too would like to start with just passing condolences to Commissioner Smith with the loss of his mother. And I know it's a difficult time, and to just let him know that, truly we're all thinking of him and here to support him in any way he needs. So also would like to give condolences to Senator Enzi's family. Can honestly say I knew Senator Enzi personally. I think my junior year of high school, I bought a pair of Nike tennis shoes from Enzi's shoe store in Gillette, Wyoming. His son, Brad Enzi, who's an economic development guy in Laramie, and I went to church camp together in Story, Wyoming for 3 years. And I actually had the opportunity to be a camp counselor for Mike's youngest daughter, Emily, and have kept in touch with Brad and Emily throughout the years. So knew Senator Enzi as a dad, a father, a friend, a shoe salesman, and I really think he was an incredible representative of our great state, and want to make sure folks, thinking about him. Also kind of an overview of what Lauren said. Spent a lot of time at Clearview Acres on last Thursday, probably more time I've spent at Clearview Acres in my entire life. But I received multiple calls from constituents concerned with the flooding range, and took a drive through there, talked to constituents at 11 o'clock that morning. Also met with Gene and Lauren, and we toured out there to kind of see where that was. One of the things we did find out that I kind of want to point out was some of the flood was caused by multiple issues, but one of them was a couple BLM ponds that were not being drained. And I know Gene has reached out to BLM, and they have basically said it wasn't a priority to drain those ponds at that time. So we're going to stay on them with that. But I also want to just, I happened to go with Lauren to that emergency meeting since I was there at 2 and had an opening at 3, and just was really impressed with everyone stepping up together and making it happen. And by the end of the night, there were sandboxes throughout the community, our fire departments, sandbagging, getting sandbags up. A ton of sandbags were put out up by Clearview, and it was just a great way to see a bunch of resources come together. So big thanks to all of them, and big thanks to to Commissioner Shanefield for taking the lead for that as commissions and allowing me to be a guest on the back. The best part was, hey, we're going to have a meeting at 9 o'clock tonight. Roy, do you want to be involved? I got to say, nope. Commissioner Shanefield's got that 9 o'clock meeting. I'm just a guest today. So great work there. As far as other liaison work, Conservation District, we're going to meet next week instead of this week. We will be meeting with Little Snake River Conservation District to discuss some boundaries and issues there. But we did move it because of Fair Week, which I'll touch in a moment. Went to the Golden Hour Senior Center meeting the other day. Probably the biggest information there is they have, they explained to us during the budget cycle that one of the reasons they have a large cash carryover is meals. And they've actually already ran out of their funding for meals, home delivered meals. And right now it's curbside delivered meals until January. So that's when they dip into it to be able to help provide meals. The next meeting, I will bring some meal counts and stuff so folks knows how many people they're serving. Met with Gene. There was really no report, but probably one of the most interesting things in my conversation with Gene is last week during the storm, one of our water trucks slash sander smoother trucks actually was hit by lightning. It wasn't the one that held up all the traffic, but we were hit, and that's in the shop. And questions are if that will ever be able to be fully repaired because it just really messes with the system. So I thought that was interesting. I had a chance to go to newly elected Treasurer Barbudo's swearing in with Chairman Wendling, and have actually had a chance to go back and meet with Treasurer Barbudo on 2 different occasions to see how things were going, and appreciate his efforts in reaching out to local governments and also treasurers throughout the state, because whether you agreed with the appointment or not, you got to look at it from this analogy. You have a very difficult job that has very specific statutes. You've never been in that office, and there is no training program in the entire world. So if you want to talk about a baptism with fire hose, I think that's what Treasurer is Barbudo's going through, and I do appreciate his efforts and want to make sure people know that. Had a chance that we went out to the Escapees event, and Commissioner Shanefield and Chairman Wendling and I went out. What was anticipated that we would be getting to mingle with the folks around the tables meant they like their cocktails at the Escapees rally, and we were very active bartenders for about 2.5 hours. And Candy was like, man, I just really wanted you to visit with people. I said, man, we had the best visits. In fact, one guy kept coming back and giving Lauren jokes. Like every 20 minutes, this guy would show up, hey, get her, I got a joke. So it was a great event. And just there are still RVs out there from the Escapees rally. It's becoming minimal, but when we put our camper out for fair, there were still people there from Escapees. And I think people have to realize that not only do these people come for the week, they are coming before, they're staying after, and they're coming back. I mean, we talked to a guy from Pensacola that said, man, I wish I would have planned in more than the week to be here. I'm going to have to come back. So just really awesome. Also had a chance to meet with Gary McLean in HR throughout the week. Also want to thank Eric, Kayla, and Commissioner Shanefield for going to the multiple use facility meeting. That was my intention, and I started thinking about it, but I thought Lauren would be going, and so I did not go, and that allowed me to attend Golden Hour. So I appreciate that and them giving me an update. Had a chance to meet with Chief Jarvie and John Grossnickel in separate meeting, Sheriff Grossnickel, in separate meetings. That were very helpful about law enforcement and 911 detention center. Met with Ryan Rust last week. And then I guess also had a meeting with Rich Hawkins, getting an update on 911. Just wanted to show me, and he's going to be visiting with his board, but there's some really unique things going on within the boundaries of who's responsible for calls and dispatch specific to WAM Center with Carbon County. So that's something the board will be looking at. And then last but not least, Commissioner Seinfeld's already mentioned this a little bit, but excited for the fair. It's really great to see the event to come back. Candy and Larry and Candy and the board have done a great job. I think they've done a really good job in changing some of the vendor prices and stuff, which has allowed for a much larger vendor number. It's my understanding all vendor spots are sold. Being out there the last 3 days, setting up a camper, which by the way, this is my least favorite week because we live in a camper at the fairgrounds for a week, but being at the fair is really amazing. And being out there the last couple of days, Lauren talked about going out to auction. It is amazing to see the numbers are up a little bit from last year, down from 2 years ago, but still up. And just to be able to take a walk through and take a look at the projects and look at the steers coming in yesterday and today, seeing the pigs. If you want a pig, I know a couple good ones, Hank and Rose and Penelope will be at auction. I'm not going to tell you that the Lloyd kids are selling them, but they might be. But there are a lot of great work that's been put in out there by those kids, and not only in the livestock, but in the static. And I just want to think the entertainment lineup is great. And if you look at it, there aren't a lot of concerts going on throughout the world. A lot of concerts are still getting canceled. So we have a great chance to be an epicenter this weekend. And I really do think some of the concerts will have large numbers because of the fact people haven't been able to go to concerts. And so really excited for the event, and just want to thank that fair board and the staff at the events complex for all the great work they have done out there. It is pretty fantastic. So if without any other further questions, I think I've talked enough and I am done.
Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Questions for Commissioner Lloyd? Commissioner Shanefield.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to tag on to the end of that because I actually forgot to include, in my last report for the events complex, I had talked about that they were recruiting for Airstream to have their rally here in 2023, and that was approved. So we will be bringing that to Sweetwater County as well. So they are actively working on recruiting new events. There was some discussion at their board meeting this last week that, you know, we may not be able to fit what the National High School Finals Rodeo is looking for moving forward because they're looking for all indoor facilities, but we can find other events and we can showcase our entire community to all of these other folks that are willing and wanting to come into Sweetwater County. So I think they're doing a great job with that. And I forgot to share that exciting news.
Oh, that is exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that follow-up, and thank you for your report, Commissioner Lloyd. Good report. I don't know about Commissioner Smith, but I can't follow that stuff.
That's okay. I only have to follow you, so I'll be okay.
You're lucky. No, those are good reports, commissioners, and excellent job, and way to stay with it. My report, first of all, I'd thank Commissioner Toman for the follow-up on the Western States Tribal Nations and that type of thing. I just can't tell how much I appreciate that. I do want to take a moment here and read a letter. And this letter comes from the Wyoming State Archives. And a little background to it is there were some documents that needed to be archived out of the clerk of district court. And so the Wyoming State Archives showed up with a couple people. And generally, it's a 2-day job for those people or longer. But here's a letter that was written to our clerk of district court, Miss Donna Lee Boback, and it was written July 16th, and says, "Dear Mrs. Boback, recently 2 members of our staff, that's Wyoming State Archives, Carl Hallberg and Ed Grego, came to the courthouse to retrieve court and other county records from your storage areas. We appreciate your alerting us to the existence of these records so we could preserve them at the State Archives in Cheyenne. I also understand that members of your custodial staff were made available to our staff to help load our truck. We really appreciate the availability and the hard work of all of your staff in assisting with our work. This additional assistance made it possible for our team to finish their work in one day and head back to Cheyenne much sooner than they would otherwise have been able to return. Please do thank those staff for us, and thanks again for your attention to preserving these archival records. So, and that's sincerely Kathy Marcus, State Archivist. So my point being is the staff working in this courthouse only exemplifies the people of this great county, and that is when there's something that needs to be done or something that has to be completed, a task, they pitch in and they help. And these custodial staff working under Karen and Jean, as well as working out of the clerk's office. I'd like to thank them for pitching in. I'm sure those workers from Cheyenne were glad to get home a day earlier, the same day, which we all appreciate the importance of being with family. But I thank Kathy for her letter, as well as I thank Donna Lee for making it possible, as well as the custodial staff, Supervisor Karen, to make it possible for our staff to help out. So thank you very much. Again, to condolences to the NZ family. That was one I didn't mention before, but again, I'd like to give those condolences as well. My meetings is I attended the Joint Water Board meeting via Zoom. And of course, working with that group, constantly watching the water situation throughout the state, working with State Water Association, as well as setting rates and trying to keep them affordable for our people, but also they're one of our joint communications or joint powers boards that is self-funding, that doesn't request any money from the county. So they do a great job there, under the leadership of Brian Seppi. So also attended a Young at Hearts meeting in person, and things are moving along there. They've kind of have looked for other ways of gaining funding, if it was through Medicare or through other things, but they've been able to pick up some additional funding to help them get through things. And based on their books this last meeting, they appear to be clipping along and doing pretty good. And they just seem to be more part of the solution than part of the problem when it comes to budgeting. So I found that very helpful. Also, I just thank the other commissioners for mentioning the other events that I attended with them and enjoyed that time. So with that, if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. That concludes my report. So no questions, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, thank you to everyone for their thoughts and kind words. It's much appreciated. Not an easy time. And I appreciate those who stepped up and have helped out attending meetings and taking care of business while I was attending to family business. Also, thoughts and condolences to the Enzi family. It was great to work with Senator Enzi in his office I guess it was 2019, pre-COVID, on PILT and visit with him there. So good man, and he will be missed throughout the state for the wonderful work he's done. I did want to bring up, all of you received a couple of weeks ago, maybe a few, an email regarding passenger train service. I've kind of picked up the ball there and have a resolution which I'd like to introduce and present for approval of this board at our next meeting, if that's something that is amenable to everybody here. It's talking about bringing passenger rail service back to the west, and specifically for us, through Rock Springs and Green River. The Pioneer and Hiawatha lines that used to be in effect. Amtrak received a bundle of money from Congress some years ago and was asked to try to provide service to underserved areas and better service to areas that were already served. They did apparently a great job back east of adding service and spending most of their money there, and did nothing out here in the west. And so this is an effort that's being put together by several states here in the west to reinstate these rail lines, passenger rail lines that had been in effect for years and have since gone away. So I'll be presenting that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me about those. Kudos to Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County. They've earned the Joint Commission's Gold Seal of Approval for hospital accreditation, and that comes by demonstrating continuous compliance with its performance standards. And the Gold Seal is a symbol of quality that reflects a healthcare organization's commitment to providing safe and quality patient care. They had an unannounced visit back in May on the 6th and 7th, 2-day visit from the Joint Commission, where evaluators combed the hospital and found not only compliance, but excellent and outstanding compliance and performance. And so kudos to Irene and Taylor and the board and all those working at Memorial Hospital. Memorial's turning into just a gem that we have here, and we're lucky to have such a wonderful resource for us here in our community. And so thank you to them for doing such an excellent job. My apologies to Linda of Southwest Counseling and the board there, as well as Kim Lamberger and the board at the Sweetwater County Health Department for missing their meetings last week. I apologize for that, but I did get a chance to visit with Kim, and we'll catch up with Linda this week. And hospital board meeting is tomorrow, so I will be attending that as well. And look forward to seeing you all at the fair. That's what I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Any questions? Commissioner Toman.
I just had one more commendation. Jean Legursky met with some constituents regarding road issues, the rural road issues, and they were very, very happy that he had taken the time and taken his staff actually and gone out and looked at how the berms should be on the roads, and it was very much appreciated.
Yeah, I think Jean exemplifies what all of our departments are in the county and their desire to meet the needs of the people of Sweetwater County, whether that's planning and zoning, whether that's fire, whether that's purchasing, whatever. Everybody, I think for the most part, is there to provide great service for the people of Sweetwater County. Thank you, Commissioner. Before I let you go, I have one last thing I'd like to mention. We all know that in the last 2 weeks, we concluded with a moving forward with the general purpose 1 penny tax referendum with 3/4 cent to go to public safety, as well as 1/4% to go to Sweetwater Economic Development Coalition for Economic Development. I just would like to share with fellow commissioners that the county, there'll be 3 committees that have been set up, and we'll finish by the end of today, hopefully have all of our, I'll say appointments or seats set for the different committees by the end of today. And then I'll notify the different groups and we'll get it put together. But there's 3 basically sitting committees out there. One is to deal with ambulance as to what that'll look like exactly, develop an MOU, and out of that out of that public service money, safety money. The next one will be talking about joint communications, primarily to visit the funding of it through everything. And then, of course, the 3rd committee is the general purpose committee in general, which will take the lead in moving this general purpose referendum forward and that type of thing. The expectation is that the county should and does take the lead in this referendum, which means then that the committees that each of us are on with the lead will set the meetings, and those things will need to kick off as soon as possible once we finish up this afternoon and that type of thing. So we have all the appointments made, and to move quickly to begin to work on making the referendum successful as well as informative so that the voters can make a good decision. Remember, our vote was to take to the voters a referendum for them to decide if this is what they wanted, and to provide the information for them so they can make a well-informed vote come November 2nd, and that type of thing. So just to share with you, that's up to speed, and that type of thing. And just let you know, we'll conclude that as today moves on, but people do need to know that we're moving forward with that and how that's being shared out, and we'll get those edges put on through those different committees. So with that, is there anything else to add, commissioners, on your reports? With that, I would then move on with our agenda, which is the next item is other. Does anybody, commissioner, for the good of the order, wish to add anything specifically for the next agenda? Commissioner Smith will have the resolution for passenger train service. Is that correct?
I will.
And then I'll work with Sally in getting Andrew Brown aboard, either at this next meeting or the following meeting, to do a presentation. Commissioners, anything else along that line? Anything you're thinking of you'd like on the agenda? Future agendas? With nothing there, that'll conclude the other part of our agenda. With that, our next item is executive session as needed. And we have pre-decisional, we have legal, personnel, and of course, we amended our agenda to add contracts. Commissioner Tolman, for pre-decisional, do you wish to have Mr. Bingham present or not?
I don't think we have to tell, there was nothing that was pre-decisional. Now the plan is going public and there were no specifics that would be pre-decisional at this time. I think we covered the Ashley and the Flaming Gorge this
All
time.
right, so we
Okay.
won't, we can remove pre-decisional then?
Right,
Okay,
uh-huh.
very good. So, very good, Eric. Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for legal, personnel, and contracts.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We'll go